Margaret, can you tell me about this painting?
This is a painting that my brother Vince made of a family farm, and it was done about 10 years ago. And this is the house, and actually that's from the perspective here, it's fairly small for a family of 16. But this was a family house, and then the barn was not that far, from the house. And then this was a garage and Dad's workshop, and and there were some trees in the back here, and this was the driveway into the farmyard. And there were other little shops around there. This was the baby chicken coop, and this was the chicken coop for the larger chickens.
I see some animals in here. What are those?
I see the hogs here, and these are, I think that's a cow there that he has there. And here are the baseball. This is where we played baseball or softball, and here are the bases for the softball game. And this was a light pole even before, I think this was after REA came into being. But we did have this light pole up even before we got REA, because Dad had set up his own electrical with batteries and generating electricity.
Now the house, can you tell me where the windows are looking, or what rooms those belong to? Okay,
this is the kitchen, and this is an upstairs bedroom, and this is the entryway to the house. And this is what we call the red shed, and when this house was being built, we lived in this shed over the summer months. It took about 2 months to build, and that's where we lived during that time then.
How big was that shed?
Not very big, just enough to put in the beds and the kitchen stove.
How many of you children were there at that time?
Probably about 8, 10, yeah, 8 I'd say. So.
Now, were those fields in the background, were those your family fields?
These were the neighbors. There was a road right out here, and so the green here would have been the family fields. And then there were other fields beyond those trees.
And what is this here?
I don't know what that is. I don't know what he was intending to show there.
And who did you say painted this?
My brother Vince.
Okay. And about 10 years ago?
93, no, it's 15 years ago already.
Is there anything else in this photo you want to
I think that's it.
To me? Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Margaret, can you tell me who's in this photo? From left to right.
This is a photo of both sets of grandparents. And let me give you some background first. There's a traveling photographer that came around to the church and offered to take pictures at the church. And he had this backdrop, which he hung up outside of the church. And you can see the dirt, down below. So it was looking like it was a fancy place, but it was actually outdoors that this was taken. And then families decided, my 2 sets of grandparents decided they wanted their pictures taken together, probably to save money. On the left side is my grandmother Magdalena and grandfather Matthias Bitz. And on the right side is Grandma Margeret and Sebastian Schwarzenberger.
You say Grandma Margaret and who?
Sebastian.
Okay. Can you spell his last name for me?
SCHWARTZENBERGER.
And was this a normal way to take photos at the time, or?
I think this was a one-time thing. This traveling photographer came around, but everybody in the church had their picture taken, you know, one way or the other, with this backdrop.
Okay. Now, how about their clothing? Do you remember your grandparents wearing clothing like that, or your parents?
My grandparents, you know, that's the way they were dressed, like for church on Sunday, and on weekdays was like sort of a house dress that they wore then. And the men always wore bib overalls on weekdays.
I see one of them is wearing a tie and the other one is wearing a neckcloth. Is that what that is?
Just a white shirt.
Okay.
Just a white shirt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And did your grandmothers, did they make their own clothing, or did they go into town?
Grandma Schwarzenberger made her own. But I don't remember Grandma Bitz sewing.
Margaret, where is this landscape?
My grandparents, Schwarzenberger grandparents, had their farmstead at the bottom of that hill. And of course, us kids all thought it was such a huge hill. And so that's how we remember Grandpa and Grandma, where they lived. It was by the big hill. So that's the farmstead of Grandpa and Grandma Schwarzenberger.
Does it still look like that today?
Yes. It looks like it. At that, you know, the farmstead's totally gone now. It's disappeared, torn down.
And how long did they live there at the base of that hill?
All the adult life, their adult life that I know of, until Grandma moved to town in 1950. And Grandpa died at that farm.
And this is the same hill that you say you went sledding down?
No, this is a different one.
Okay.
I don't ever remember sliding down this hill, but some of the relatives do.
Okay. Can you tell me where this picture is taken from?
This picture is a picture of the farmstead where I was born in Hills Township, Logan County, Napoleon, North Dakota. And that farm is still there.
Okay. Can you point out some of the buildings there?
Okay, here's the house. And then the barn is the original barn yet. And the other buildings are new buildings.
Since you left?
Since I was born,
okay,
yes.
Since you were born. Is that what your brother painted in the oil painting earlier?
No, this is the farmstead that I was born on.
Oh, okay,
and then you moved. And then we moved, right.
Okay, so you were 4 when you left this
farmstead. Right.
Okay, and your grandparents lived here?
Right, and we lived with the grandparents. And then they moved to town, and then we moved to the new place.
And this was your paternal grandparents?
Right, right.
Okay, and where's this photo?
This photo is on the farmstead that I grew up on. And this is the area downhill from the farmstead that filled with water in the spring after the snow melt. And we would take an old barn door and go out rafting on this, what we call the lake. And here you see a picture of somebody out there on a raft, rafting on that quote, unquote, lake.
So you'd use the barn door. Was that a pretty common occurrence?
Well, I think so.
How many times do you think you made it out there?
I think it was a number of times a year when there was water in there. It didn't have water every year, but the years, springs when it had lots of water. I think it would be a couple of times because the water would remain there until summer.
Now you mentioned earlier that your brothers got in trouble for using the barn
Yes,
door as a
yes.
raft. Was that a common occurrence as well?
I think so, yeah.
Now, did you know anybody else who actually did the same thing, or were you guys pretty fortunate in having this kind of?
There was a lot of those potholes around that area, but not so close to farmsteads, so nobody else would do that because their potholes were close enough to the farmstead.
Okay. Oh. Can you tell me what this is in this photo?
This is a shrine that Mom built, and it was a shrine to Mary. And my brother Al, I believe, built it out of the cove out of wood. And then Mom set it up outside between 4 trees that were set in a square. And
How large was it?
probably about a yard high, 3 feet high, and probably 2 feet wide, or about a 1.5 feet wide, maybe.
Do you remember how long it took them to build it?
I don't. I just know that it was setting out there. That's what I remember.
Do you remember how old you were when they did this?
Probably about the 6th or 7th grade, 8th grade, 6th or 7th grade, 7th or 8th grade.
Okay. And is this you in this photo?
That's me, a picture of me at my first communion.
And you were how old?
I was 7 years old.
And what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a white dress, a white veil, and white stockings.
And what are you holding?
That was First Communion candle. And then you see that little black, we got black scapulars, which was a picture of the saints or whatever, which was sort of a religious article at that time.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that something you received at your first communion?
Right, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was part of the... Mm-hmm.
So everybody received their own?
Right, right.
Okay. Is there anything else? What about the veil that you have on your head? What does that symbolize?
It was just part of the costume or the outfit that everybody wore, a white veil. In those days, women still wore something on their head, a hat, a scarf, or a veil in church.
And who is this in this photo?
That's my mother and my father.
Do you remember what year this was taken?
Probably about 1980.
Was this usual for them to get their photo taken?
This was a photo, I think there was a photographer in town, came to town to take pictures of people who wanted to have their picture taken. We didn't have photographers living in town, so photographers came around.
Was there anything in this picture about your parents that that you can describe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you describe your parents just by looking at this photo?
Mm-hmm.
And how they were?
The one thing I always loved about my mother was her her hair. She didn't use any hair coloring of any kind, but it was such a beautiful gray hair.
And how about your father?
He was always a tease, and so he was teasing at the time when they were taking the picture.
So were you there when they had this
No,
photo taken?
no, I wasn't. And that was the last family home, and that has been torn down now too. That was a home in town when Mom and Dad, after Mom and Dad moved to town, or the home they moved into when they moved into town.
This one was?
Right.
And how long did they live there?
I believe they moved into town about 1965. And the house was torn down last year. My brother had lived in it after Dad died.
And do you remember spending much time at this house?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Because that was home after, from 1965 until both Mom and Dad died.
And what about this top photo?
Okay. That's a real photo of the farm that we saw, took a look at the painting. But it's taken from up on top of the windmill.
In what direction are we looking in this?
Okay, this is looking west, and the painting was looking north.
And this is what it is. Does it look like this today?
No, no, it's totally. My brother moved on the farm, and so he and his wife, they totally redid the yard and built a new house and put in a lot more trees and tore down the barn and did some landscaping.
So it looks different even.
Very
than
different,
this
right.
photo.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
And how long ago was this one taken?
That must have been about 1960 about.
Do you remember who took it?
My brothers were debating about who took it, Vince or Leonard. We didn't know.
Okay. Can you tell me what's happening in this photo?
This is our mode of transportation to school. And in this picture, we were on our way home from school. And in this situation, it was the neighbor's horse and sled, and they picked us up on the way to school. So it's two families pictured here.
Do you remember the names of anyone in the photo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll still go left to right.
I don't know if you want all those names.
Well, we'll try it.
Okay, that was the neighbor boy, John. And then myself.
And then just down there.
Okay, I'm not sure. I have to do by process of elimination. Then it was Leonard.
Okay.
And the neighbor girl,
There.
Albina.
Alvina.
Mm-hmm.
And who's next? In the little hat.
I think that's Al.
L?
Al.
Oh, okay.
A-L. Mm-hmm. And then in the back is Cecilia.
And then in front of her?
Okay, that looks like the neighbor, another neighbor, and that's Sebastian.
And then next to him? In the back? There?
Is I think it's Vincent.
And then the next one?
And the next one is my brother, Sebastian.
And then driving?
Alfred.
Alfred?
Mm-hmm.
Was he your neighbor's father?
Right, a neighbor, just a neighbor,
Just
neighbor
okay.
boy in school. Mm-hmm.
And was this pretty much a daily occurrence, taking the sled to school in the winter then?
In the winter, right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did your father trade places every now and again and take you all to school in place of the neighbors taking you?
The neighbors lived beyond our place, so we didn't, this was when it was not stormy weather, then they would pick us up. But when it was stormy weather, they wouldn't go to school at all, our neighbors, and then my father would take us.
So the winters were usually pretty...
Right.
Pretty stressful then.
We had some winters, like this winter was the kind of winters I remember.
All right, and what is happening here in this photo?
Here were some of the cousins that were at our place, and this was, I believe, in spring of the year. It was still cool, still chilly, wearing winter outfits, winter coats. And I believe one of these was our ponies, but the other one must have been the neighbor's pony.
Can you identify the individuals in this photo?
I can't. I don't really know. I know we've talked about it and we've identified them, but right offhand I couldn't.
Okay. And what about this one? It looks just like the one we saw.
Except this is
slightly
summer.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, this is summer. And these are some cousins again, along with, and these were all our ponies at the time, or our horses, going for a ride.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see a dog in the photo. Does the dog have a name?
I think it was Shep.
Shep?
Shep, S-H-E-P. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And was he a herding dog? Was he
No,
a work dog?
no, just a work dog.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And are the guys in the photo, are they your brothers?
I think this is a neighbor, and the other two are brothers, but I'd have to go back and check again. I asked my brother just recently who they were.
Did you often, were you able to get out and go on horseback like
I
that?
did once or twice, I think. I was too scared.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Shetland pony, and that pony we all rode.
How many horses did your family have?
Well, we had 4 work horses for a while, and then at the end we just had 2 work horses and then just a riding pony.
What's in this photo? It looks like a deer.
Right. They would come into the yard to feed in the winter, and then eventually, the boys would get them to come up and to eat and tame them. And so here they got a picture of Sebastian with the deer.
And how old was he in this picture, do you know?
Probably about 10.
And did all of your brothers do that at one time or another?
Mm-hmm. Anybody could walk up. When the deer would come into the yard, they'd walk up to the deer, or the deer would come up to them, because I think they would feed them out of the hand to get them to come up to them.
Was that pretty common then in the winter for them to do that?
It hadn't happened up to that winter, so that was sort of unusual up to that time.
So when hunting season came, what happened then?
They didn't deer hunt at all at that time. Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting photo. Can you tell me about this?
This is a Shetland pony we had. And this is a picture of my brothers on the pony and standing next to the pony.
And what was the pony's name?
Duck.
Duck?
D-U-C-K.
Was he named that for a particular reason?
No,
or
he had that name when we got him.
Okay. And can you name your brothers in this photo?
Okay, now I have to take a look. Okay, this is Hillary.
Can we start on the side?
I won't know him from this side. Okay, let's see. This is Fred. Okay, Fred, and then this is Alex. And Sebastian. Al. Vince. Leonard. And Hillary.
They all look like they're pretty close in age.
Yes,
too.
yes. Yes, there were no girls between there for a while.
There was about, what, 5 of them? They're all just stair step.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Poor horse.
He was such a gentle horse, and he let us do anything to him.
Yeah. Was it often that your brothers went out and?
Oh yeah,
would do things
with
like
with this Shetland pony. Yeah, there was just a lot of riding with him.
Now, do you know who took this picture?
I'm thinking it must have been my dad. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know who else it would have been.
It's definitely interesting. Can you think about maybe what year that was taken?
I'm thinking that probably was 1948, 49, 50 in there someplace.
All right. And in this group, well, this picture here, what do we have? Is this a school group?
That's a school picture, right. And this is when I was in the 2nd grade.
And is this at the county school then? The little
The
country school?
township school. Township school.
Okay. Do you remember any of the people in this photo?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
It's amazing, you know, so many years later, and you still recognize people. Still tell who they are.
right. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Okay, we'll just start with.
Oh, you want me to name them? Okay.
But if you can,
Okay.
or I could just call it
if you want.
class, whatever
Okay.
year it is.
Yeah, I was 19. What was it?
1948?
No, it was not 48. I was in the 2nd grade. It would have been 40. What you went for? 8 years old. 46, about. I think that's what it would have been about.
Okay. Now, who's the teacher? Is she on the right?
The teacher is the one on the right,
Okay.
and there was Ruby Pubberud.
Ruby?
Pubberud. P-O-B-R-U-D.
Okay. And where are you in this photo?
This is me right here.
Okay. What do you remember the most about this little school?
Our teachers, you know, were okay, but they were not, most of the training they had was just summer school training. They were not, you know, certified teachers. They was just like 6 weeks in the summer training. A few of them had more training than that, but it's amazing. Came out of there knowing anything. But so you had to be sort of a self-starter to learn. And like I said, none of them, I was not good in math in grade school. And I'm thinking, you know, they weren't really good teachers at that, because when I got to high school, I just gobbled up the math.
Well, do you know how old she was when she was teaching you?
Most of them were probably right out of high school. Yeah, out of high school, and then 6 weeks training in summer school, which amazes me now. You know, think of how well trained you have to be now.
Now, are these the ones that you would play those outside games like Pump and
Right,
Pull Away and
right,
Hide and Seek? And
right.
Was that just on recess or before?
Recess, just recess, right. And then this was a picture, okay, when I was in the 8th grade.
And where are you in this photo?
That's me.
Okay.
And I think the teacher took this picture.
Was it a different teacher that year?
Yes. In fact, it was this woman who was the teacher.
So she was a student at the school.
Right. And
we
then
were in
came
second
back
grade,
to
and then
teach,
she
right.
Came back to teach later.
Right.
Okay. Was this at the same school then?
Right,
Okay.
same schoolhouse, right.
And this would have been about what year?
1951. 1951.
And are any of your siblings in this photo here?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. With so many in this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Now, you all just walked to school in the mornings then when the weather was nice, or did you?
Right, 1.5 miles, so we did. And then after school, too.
Did you ever get irritated having your siblings in the same class, or was it just kind of something you were used to?
I mean, didn't know it was any different. So, yeah.
Now, is this schoolhouse still standing?
My dad purchased it and moved it onto the family farm as a shop after the school closed.
It's kind of interesting. How did he do that? How did he move it?
I wasn't there, so I don't know how they moved it.
All right, and what's happening in this photo? Looks like a dinner party.
It's a company dinner.
Is it your parents in here?
My dad, and then my uncle.
And which uncle is this?
Uncle George.
Okay. Is that your dad's brother?
No, it's my mother's brother-in-law.
And what do you remember about nights like this?
It was fun, just having company. We were always happy when we had company, and always pleased. And we liked Uncle George. He kidded around with us, so we liked him. And he was a big ice cream eater, although he wasn't supposed to be eating ice cream. He was a big ice cream eater. And you can see that, you know, you set the kettle on the table when you, then you dish out the kettle. And I think we had cake that night. No, that's not a cake pan. That must have been a rose pan.
And are these your siblings then in the bottom right?
Right.
Okay.
Those are siblings.
So how large was your kitchen table then in order to accommodate your large family?
Well, it seemed like it was a large table, probably no bigger than if I opened this up. But we had a bench on what we call the back side, and I think 6 of them sat on that bench. And Otherwise, there were chairs around the front and the sides.
Now I noticed that in the background, your mom has some pictures or something in the window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What are
those were holy pictures,
Okay.
pictures of of saints or whatever, I think.
Okay. And this is the window that looks out into the driveway?
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's happening in this picture? It looks like something exciting is going on.
Okay, that's butchering chicken time.
And what do you do to butcher a chicken?
I don't know if you want to know. You cut the chicken's head off, and then you let it hop around until it bleeds to death. And then you have a pail of hot water, and then you scald the chicken, and then you pluck it, and then it's ready to be gutted. And
How long did that take?
oh, we usually did about 3 chickens for one eating, and it didn't take long.
I guess it got to be like a routine then
Oh yeah,
at your house.
Like we'd have chicken 3 times a week, I'm sure, when the chickens were like they were fryers.
So how many chickens did your family own then?
We ordered a couple of hundred every spring.
Did you get them as chicks
As
then?
baby chicks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I see there are 3 of you in this photo. Are these you?
Okay.
Is this you
That's
with
my,
your sisters?
my sister, that's Cecilia. I think that's Monica and Bernie.
Was it usual to have quite a few of you out there doing this at the same time? Just so
Yeah, when it was chicken.
team effort.
Clean, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually was not involved in this part. Well, at least not the killing. But I did pluck the chickens, and then I did got the chickens.
How long did it take before you were used to doing that?
Oh, it was like
anything else on a farm, you just
right.
do
You know,
it?
but if you don't, okay, somebody shows you how to do it, and then you do it.
And I see we have some farm equipment here.
Yeah,
What is happening?
this is combining season.
And can you tell who is in this picture? I see there are two men down there in front of the truck.
I think that's my dad and my brother, I think. Not sure who it is. Yeah, I think that's...
And what are they doing? Is it
They're-
threshing or?
They're combining,
Okay.
and they're unloading the hopper onto the pickup, I think. That's what they used to haul grain. They didn't have those big semis that you have now.
It took a lot more time.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And do you remember what year this might have been?
Oh, probably about 1960 maybe.
Okay. See, we have a family photo here.
Taken at Christmas time.
Christmas, do you remember what year?
56.
Did you usually take family photos on holidays, or
No,
was this an
no.
exception?
That was the last Christmas I was going to be home.
Okay.
And then I was going to go into the convent after that. So get a picture.
Wow, and so this is all of your siblings?
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. It's a big affair. All right, we'll try to go through and identify them.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start on the top
Okay.
and go
Left to right.
Yes.
Okay. Cecilia. Hillary. Leonard. Fred. Myself.
And then
And that's Bernie, Alex, Vincent, Vince, Al, Richard, Sebastian, Willie, okay, that's Dad, holding Marion, and Matthias, Mom, holding Sharon, and then Monica.
That's quite a picture, too. I noticed that some of the boys are dressed alike. Was that a common occurrence at home?
Oh, yes, yes.
Was it a hand-me-down kind of situation?
No, there was one year that everybody got a new shirt, but they were all the same. And those shirts are on their school pictures, too, that year.
And did your mom ever make any of you or your siblings' clothes?
She didn't. She never learned how to sew. I guess my aunt made a lot of the clothes for her until Cecilia started sewing.
Was Cecilia the oldest?
She was a year younger than me.
Okay.